The views and opinions of the guests of Veterans Archives do not reflect the views and opinions of Veterans Archives, its subsidiaries, or its partners. Hello and welcome to Veterans Archives. This is a podcast where you can learn about our military history in the words and voices of the men and women who lived and created it. I'm your host, Bill Krieger, and let's listen to our next story.
We are here today. It is August 9th, 2023. I am with Nick Kraft, who served in the United States Army Regular Active Duty, the Air Guard, the Army Reserves, and the Michigan Army National Guard. How are you doing today, Nick?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Glad to be here. We are in Sterling Heights at the Sterling Heights storefront office in Sterling Heights, Michigan. And we are going to talk a little bit about Nick's experiences in the service. And we are going to start out with, where are you from?
Well, I was born in Detroit, St. John's Hospital. And I only
What
lived
year?
there. 1987.
1987.
Yeah. September 10th, to be exact.
The day before September 11th.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it was in 1987.
Yeah,
So
way before.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a Thursday, 5:12 a.m. I lived in Detroit for about a year in the family home that my dad grew up in, and then we moved to Warren, 8 Mile and Shaner area. Grew up there until sixth grade. I completed sixth grade there.
Okay.
And
So what did your dad and mom do?
So they actually got divorced when I was 4. My dad got sole custody of us.
Okay.
So my mom really didn't do too much, in and out jobs, never really held one. She kind of always lived with either my grandma or my aunts, somebody like that. So she didn't really do too much for herself. My dad, he's a machinist, and he also paints ice for a side job and strings hockey nets in his garage for side jobs.
Good man. I love hockey.
Hardest working person I know.
Good.
Yeah. So,
Any siblings?
yeah. Yep. I mean, my family's kind of complicated. So, I have 4 siblings that I grew up with. 4 sisters, 3 older, 1 younger. I mean, we can get into the whole family thing, if you want to. It's complicated.
So where do you where do they live now?
My little sister lives with my mom. 2 of my other sisters, they live in Chesterfield Township, and then 1 other sister, she lives in New Hampshire.
Okay.
Yep.
And were you guys close growing up?
One of my sisters was me and Catherine. She's 13 months older than I am, so we were close growing up. The other one's not so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were growing up, were you guys in any sports, or your dad does hockey nets? So does that?
So I've always had a passion for hockey. I always liked hockey. When I was, I think in 5th grade, I did 1 season of basketball and figured out that I was no good at all. So I scored one point the whole season, and it didn't even count because it went off the top of the backboard. So I quit that.
So where did you play hockey growing up?
It was for the East Point Community Center.
Where's that located?
East Point. It's right by Warren.
I remember playing at the Fraser ice rink. Is it close to that?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
That's where my dad actually started painting ice, at the Fraser Ice Arena.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so when you're saying paint ice, he paints the lines.
So he does all the white with a sprayer, and then he does all the lines by hand with a brush. Yeah. And then he does like the logos. They come on a template, and he puts the template down, and it kind of freezes to the ice. He sprays water over it, and it freezes to the ice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've never met anybody that's done that.
He also drove Zambonis for years too. So
Okay.
yeah.
So you're destined to like hockey.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always liked hockey.
Okay. So did you play in a league, or did you play?
Yeah, I played in a league. I did roller hockey.
Okay.
And then it just got kind of expensive for my dad because he was a single father. So I didn't continue it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where did you go to, like elementary school? What school?
It was called Warrendale.
Warrendale?
Warrendale. It was in Warren. It's demolished now. I went to go look at it a few years back, and it's gone. So, but me and all my siblings, not my youngest sister, my older sisters, us four, we went there. So everybody knew like the Kraft family throughout that high school, or throughout that elementary school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where did you go for high school?
So high school, I actually went to two different high schools. So I started off living with my father. I went to Chippewa Valley because he moved to Clinton Township.
19 in Romeo Point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started off there. I did ninth grade there, and then I decided to move in with my mom. So I did 10th grade at Roseville High School in Roseville. And then I kind of got fed up with her, so I went back to live with my dad. So 11th grade, I did the first half of 11th grade with Chippewa again. And then I got kind of fed up with my dad, so I went back to live with my mom.
Back and forth.
Yep. And then I went back to live with my mom, and I finished out my high school education, the rest of 11th grade and all of 12th grade at Roseville High School. So I graduated from Roseville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you play any sports while you were there, or just?
There, I did one thing when I was a senior in Roseville. I'd rather not talk about it. My family knows what I did, but
Okay. So you were a troublemaker, is what you're telling me.
I did like a sport, but I just
Okay. Well, we don't have to talk about
it's something that I'd rather not indulge in.
Okay.
Try to forget about, but my daughters won't let me. So
I got you. So at what point did you join the military out of high school, or did you, right after?
yeah, so I was 17, senior in high school, and I went to go visit my dad, and we were sitting in his hot tub, and it was December, and he goes, "So what are you doing after high school?" I was like, "I really don't know," and he goes, "Well, you might want to think of something." I was like, "Yeah, I know." He goes, "What about the military? Have you ever thought of that?" I said, "No, I haven't." And he goes, "Look at me. You do know you don't have the grades to go to college." And I was like, "Yeah, I know that, Dad. I realize that. Thank you." And he's like, "Military might be an option for you." I was like, "Okay." So a buddy of mine was joining the Army Reserves at that time. So I asked him to kind of introduce me to his recruiter, and he did. But I didn't want the reserves. I wanted active duty. And my mom wouldn't sign for me to go active duty. So I signed for the Army Reserve.
So
in January 31st, 2005.
So the main reason why you joined was because you just didn't really know what you were going to do?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, growing up, you see movies of, like war movies, military movies. I always liked the uniform, and I always wanted to wear dog tags. So
yeah,
I always thought it was pretty cool. So
yeah, so did I. I know what you mean.
But
so when you joined, did you like shop around, or did you?
Nope. I just talked to my buddy who was talking to an Army recruiter. So I didn't look at any other branches, just the Army.
Do you remember your recruiter's name?
Yeah. Sergeant First Class Wooly.
Wooly?
Wooly.
Like Woolly Bully.
Like Woolly Mammoth, yeah.
Like Woolly Mammoth.
Yeah.
Okay. And where was the office at that you joined out of?
It was at 10 and Gratiot.
10 and Gratiot?
Yeah.
And the maps, was it Troy Maps?
It was, yeah.
Okay. Now that you're a recruiter, I know we're going to get into that a little bit later. Was it different than it
the
is
look
now?
of it?
Like
the look of
process.
the building? The process, I would say, is the same. I'm just on the other side of it. But the buildings changed,
Yeah.
But I think the process is pretty much the same. Stayed in a hotel, go to MEPS the next day, do the physical, enlist, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you did join, did you know like what MOS?
I did. Yep.
Military occupational specialty, or job, career field that you wanted to do?
Absolutely. I already went in there with the mindset of what I wanted to do. I wanted to do military police.
Okay.
Because my initial thought was I wanted to be a police officer like my grandfather in the civilian world. And you can't carry a gun until you're 21 in the field as a police officer. So I thought I was going to do like 3 years in the Army, get some experience, and then get out and be a cop. That obviously didn't happen. So...
Yeah, because we're sitting here. But I think this is a really good option.
It is, yes.
It might even be a better option.
Well,
law enforcement.
Almost to retirement, so.
Yeah. Yep. So you went military police, and what unit did you sign up for?
I was in the reserve. I can't remember what the unit number was, but it was a 16 in gross spec. It was a reserve unit. 16
the Fraser unit?
Yep.
Okay, which is still there, right?
Yeah, it is. I think it was like the 63rd or something like that.
Okay,
yep.
That sounds right. So you decide you want to go MP to be a law enforcement civilian, or police officer, and where did they send you to basic training? So
for basic training and job training, military police training, I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. It was just shy of 20 weeks for the whole thing. So 5 months.
Okay. So did your friend, who was your friend that was in the reserves?
His name was Taylor. And I actually have not seen him in a very long time.
Okay.
That's a whole nother story.
Okay.
Yeah.
As far as... So you guys weren't in the same unit or anything?
We were.
Okay.
Yeah, we were in the same unit.
Did he go to basic before you? Or?
He went to basic before me because he joined as a junior, so he did split up. So when our senior year, he had already done basic training, and that's when he introduced me to his recruiter. Okay. So after senior year, that's when I did all of my training. And then he was already in the unit by the time I got there.
Okay, so what year was it that you shipped to basic?
2005.
2005.
July 23rd, 2005.
July 23rd. Nobody forgets that date.
Well, my aunt died a few days before that.
Okay.
So, no, I don't forget that date.
Yep. Makes sense. So you ship to basic training. Mm-hmm. What's your thought when you get there?
When I get to basic training?
Yeah, like initially.
Uh-oh. What did I get myself into?
Yep.
I mean, as a kid growing up, you get yelled at by your parents all the time. But when it's another grown person yelling at you that you don't know, you're like, you don't really understand it. You're like, why is this person yelling at me for no reason? And it was kind of like shell shock,
Yeah.
What did I get myself into? And then after a while, it just becomes, the norm. You wake up, you do your thing every day, and it just becomes life, routine.
Yeah. So you get on a cattle truck with all your bags, and he told you to get off in 30 seconds.
Yep. You got like 3 big giant duffel bags that you have to carry, and at all times. It's just, and nobody fit on the cattle trucks. Yeah, it was hot, stinky. You're all crammed in there with your bags, and you're just thinking about like, where am I going? What am I doing?
Yeah.
So
you get off. Drill sergeant yells at you. You get somewhat accustomed to the environment and basic training. Is there anyone you hung out with while you're there to make it? More comfortable?
Everybody got their own cliques. Normally it was like your bunkmate. My bunkmate was a guardsman from New York. We hung out. There was another guardsman from Nebraska. We hung out. So yeah, you get make your cliques.
Do you remember their names?
The one from New York his name was Cummings, And the one from Nebraska, his name was Sheets.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so roughly 20 weeks, you're there. They're your bunk mates, and do you communicate with them at all anymore?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I haven't talked to him in a long time.
Yeah. Well, back then there wasn't like
Social media.
media as much.
Yeah.
And it's a little different.
Yeah.
So you graduate basic training, and what's the date?
That I graduated?
Yep.
December 15th, 2005.
December 15th, 2005. And you go back or come back to Michigan.
Come back home, yeah, because I'm in the reserves. Yeah.
Yep, come back to Michigan. And what's your plan? You're doing 1 weekend a month? And then...
Yeah, 1 weekend a month drills. I was working as a cook at El Charro with another buddy of mine. I did the whole 18-year-old kid thing, and I bought a brand new car, that I thought
$40,000 truck.
I thought I could afford, but
Yeah.
I couldn't. So, I wanted to go active duty initially. So I was like, all right, let's go active duty. I only spent 2 months at that drill place.
Oh, okay.
So, and then I signed an active duty contract.
Did you go back to the same recruiter?
I did. Yeah.
Okay, so he enlisted you twice.
He did.
It's awesome. Good for
Yeah,
him.
I know.
So you go back to Sergeant Woolley,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to go back through basic training
No.
or any of that?
No.
So what do they offer you, and like how does that go?
So I just told him I wanted military police, and then that buddy of mine that I joined with, he wanted to go active duty too. And I was like, all right, let's go active duty together. We'll get stationed together. He's like, all right, where do you want to go? I was like, I don't know, where do you want to go? And he threw out some options. I was like, okay, let's go to Hawaii. He's like, all right, cool, that sounds good. So we actually went to MEPS on different days. I went to MEPS first before he did.
Okay.
And I signed my active duty contract, and I signed for Hawaii. And called him up. I was like, hey, man, good to go. Signed the contract, Hawaii bound. Let's do it. He's like, all right, I go to MEPS in a few days. Okay. So he went to MEPS. And then he calls me after he's done. He's like, hey, signed my contract. Good to go. I was like, sweet. We're going to Hawaii together. He goes, actually, I'm going to Fort Bragg. I was like, really? Really? I thought
Talked him into
we were doing
airport.
this. Yeah, they did. I was like, I thought we were doing this together. He's like, sorry, man. I was like, all right. So I actually haven't seen him since then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get Hawaii.
Yeah.
And from that date, like how quick does the turnaround take once you sign your paperwork and
To ship out?
to ship out to
I think I shipped out 2 weeks after that. It was pretty quick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is really quick.
I went to I shipped out to Hawaii pretty fast. I left.
And did they at the time you're single, you're not married, or
I wasn't married. I was dating somebody at the time.
okay.
And I kind of gave some options. I was like, well, we can either have a long distance relationship, or we can break up, or we can get married. You can come with me.
Okay. So what option was it?
I got married. She came with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was her name?
Sarah.
Okay.
I call her Sunspot
Sunspot. Why do you call her Sunspot?
because of the Bob Seger song Sunspot Baby.
Okay. I'm not familiar with the
yeah.
song.
Basically, she took me for everything that I had.
Oh no.
Yep.
So you get married, she comes to Hawaii, and
Yeah.
she takes you for everything you have
When I was deployed, yeah.
when you were deployed.
Yep.
And where were you deployed to?
Iraq.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's a really long story.
It is a long story.
And so you go to Iraq, and let's talk about Iraq.
Okay.
So where do you, like, how long are you at?
So we were there for
Hawaii.
15. Well, I was in Hawaii for 3.5 years.
Okay, so how long
During that 3.5 years, we went to Iraq for 15 months.
Okay.
So,
And that what year was that?
2008
2008
to 2009.
So it's pretty hot and heavy in Iraq at that point.
Yeah, we left January 2008, came back April 2009.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you were in Hawaii for how long?
3.5 years.
Until you shipped to...
No. Sorry. So I got to Hawaii in 2006 and then deployed to Iraq in 2008.
Okay. So you're there for about 2 years.
Yeah.
You're married for about 2 years, and then you go to Iraq.
Yeah.
What was it like when you found out that you were going to Iraq?
I was actually excited. I joined in 2005, right after, the war had kicked off. So it kicked off in 2003. And so I joined right after it kicked off, and I was really excited. It was one of the reasons I kind of wanted to go active duty. I wanted to go, I wanted to be a part of it. Not to like be a hero or anything, but because that's going to be something that's going to be in the history books, and I can say I was a part of it.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to go.
So when they told you, how did they like come in and tell your unit, and like how many people went? Do you remember? Oh yeah,
it was our whole unit, whole company. So it was about 220 people that went.
Big unit.
And we they put us all in formation one morning before PT, and the commander's just like, all right, well, we're up, because it's on a rotational basis on the units that go.
Arphagen cycle.
Yeah, and they're like, all right, we're up. It's our turn. We're leaving. And I was like, what? We're leaving? Where are we going? And the commander's like, we're deploying to Iraq in January. This was in September.
Mm-hmm.
The September before. He's like, we're leaving in January. I was like, oh, okay. So we had to go to like the National Training Center and train and mobilize and all that kind of stuff beforehand. So, and then, they told us right before PT, and then we did PT.
It's a good way to find out.
I know. Early in the morning.
Yeah. Well, guess what? Good morning. We're going to Iraq.
Yeah.
So you go to Iraq, and you get there in January of 2008. And what's your initial thought when you get there?
It's very hot.
Very hot?
Yeah. We got there in the evening, at night. So obviously there weren't like many lights to see where you're going. So we were in like temporary hooches or trailers to stay in, to sleep in for the night. And the next morning we woke up, and I could finally see everything in the daylight, and like the layout of everything and where we were at, and where we came in. And I was like, okay. I was like, okay. So, it just got hotter. It got hotter and hotter. And, it cooled off at night. It was like a brisk 100 degrees. So
100 degrees.
Yeah.
Wow. Is it a dry heat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not that makes it any better, but
it doesn't. But you don't, when you walk out, because I've been to Cuba too. Cuba's really muggy and stuff. When you walk outside, you just straight start sweating. Iraq is not like that. It's just like dry heat being forced against your skin. Like, if the wind comes in, it's just feels like you have like a hairdryer just in front of your face.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like fun at all. So you're in Iraq. Do you remember who your section leader was? Any leadership that you remember? Any stories you'd want to share about Iraq? Whatever you're comfortable with.
I mean, we had as much fun as we could. I'm not going to tell you where, but on YouTube, have you ever seen Saturday Night Live skit like Chippendales with Patrick Swayze and Chris Farley? Ever seen that?
Yeah, I remember.
Okay,
exactly
so
what you're talking about.
one New Year's Eve, the commander told each platoon to come up with like a skit, something fun to do, and I suggested that for our platoon, and so 2 of the guys were going to do that skit. And then the skinnier one, he backed out at the last minute. And I was like, man, I need someone to fill this role. And everybody's like, why don't you do it? I was like, that sucks. So I did it. And me and my buddy Mark, we did that skit on New Year's Eve for the whole company.
So,
and it's on YouTube.
So what was the reaction of your commander when you did that?
I actually like danced in front of his face, like gave him like a little lap dance while we were doing it. So it was all in good fun.
He made you do it, right?
Well,
you can't say anything.
Yeah, he made us do the skit. So it was all in good fun. You know, nobody like wore rank that night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just a whole bunch of people just having fun.
First name basis.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's a funny story. I'll never forget that you told me that next time I see you. So while you're in Iraq, what type of like missions was your unit doing?
So we were tasked with creating an actual Iraqi police force, because they have Iraqi police there, but anybody can just walk into a police station and be given a badge and a gun and a shirt, and you're police now. So we were tasked with actually coming up with like an academy, right? So we did that, sticks, lanes, and everything, weapons qual, all that kind of stuff, and we put their police officers through it. If someone didn't pass, they weren't a police officer. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So we created...
Gotta meet the standard.
Yeah, we created an actual police force there.
Well, that's cool, man. And I'm sure that what you did is still in line today.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I would think that the people just build it off of that.
Hopefully. The chief of police was pretty cool. Yeah. He worked hand in hand with us. Some of the bad guys didn't like it. So like one day we dropped him off at his house, and then we were driving away, and he stepped inside of his house, and he was blown up by a house-borne IED underneath his front mat.
The chief of police was? Wow.
Yeah. So we went back and rendered aid and called in a medevac, but he lost both of his legs.
So he survived, but lost both of his legs.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that had to be hard to go through. So when you were there, you trained the police, did they go out and do most of the policing?
Yeah, so mostly our job was to go to all the local police stations in our province and talk with like the chiefs and the section chiefs and establish rapport with them and let them know what we were doing in the area. And then, put their guys through the academy. And then we just kind of, we kind of did a little bit of what infantry did. Like we rolled around in squads and patrolled the streets and areas and stuff.
Okay.
So we were attached to like an infantry battalion. So we kind of operated like them.
What kind of vehicles were you in?
So we were in up armored Humvees. We had ASVs. And then toward the end of our tour, we got MRAPs, like Humvees on steroids.
Okay.
Really big trucks.
Were they? I've heard that those are like top heavy. That was the only.
Yeah, the turret is like 10 feet in the air, so it was kind of a target. But it was a big truck.
It was probably safer than the ASV.
Yeah, it was supposed to be used as like a medevac truck because the back is completely open. It's got 2 bench seats on the sides, and then the middle area is open for casualties.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I remember you and I went through the ASV licensing course not too long ago, but I remember those were hard to get in and out of.
The ASVs?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, especially when you're in the turret. It was like a cage.
Yeah.
But the front seats, those were brutal. Like in all your gear, trying to squeeze in those.
Yeah. And there's levers and, gauges and stuff everywhere to crawl through.
The window's like, 7 inches tall that you can see out of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can see why the MRAP would be a better option.
Yep.
So you're in Iraq, 2008, and when do you return home?
April 2009.
April 2009. You come back and you go back to Hawaii, Schofield Barracks.
Yep. And then from there, I started my PCS process.
Okay, so you PCS, so you had a permanent change of station, which means you're moving to another location.
Yeah.
And when you moved, did you go to another? Did you get out and go guard or go? What happened after that?
When I was in Iraq, I actually reenlisted for another 6 years. They waived the reenlistment bonus in front of my face and choice of duty station.
Yeah, tax free, right?
Yeah, 17,000, which my sunspot took from me. So anyway, so I did that. I reenlisted for 6 years, and I chose to go to Fort Gordon, Georgia.
Fort Gordon, Georgia.
Yep.
It's a big change from Hawaii.
It is. It's still hot, but I wanted to go somewhere in the South. I've always wanted to visit the South.
Okay.
So I chose Georgia.
And you're still on MP at this point?
Mm-hmm.
And what's your rank?
E5 Sergeant.
Sergeant E5. So Sergeant Kraft goes to Fort Gordon, Georgia. Mm-hmm. He's still on MP. So are you in a garrison unit? Okay.
Yeah, it's all garrison there, except when you're going to the range. It's actually an AIT post for 25 uniform.
Yeah, IT.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anything computer related is there.
And then, so we did garrison. I was patrol supervisor as an E5. I was patrol supervisor, so that's what I did there.
So it was an AIT post. So my question is, if they were in AIT and they went out and they weren't supposed to, could you pick them up and take them to their first sergeant?
We could.
Did you do that at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
So was that kind of fun or?
I mean, it wasn't it wasn't. I don't like getting fellow service members in trouble, but at the same time, you have to learn what the right thing is.
Yeah, I agree. I just know that going through it, like everybody goes through their basic and having their advanced individual training. They're supposed to stay in their barracks, and they have like certain passes where they can go out. And I remember some of the things that I did and never got caught. So
everybody's done certain things and never got caught.
Yeah. And I feel like when years go by, they learned from our mistakes. Mm-hmm. So you're in garrison, you're on patrol. You're Sergeant Kraft, and you have how many soldiers do you have?
12.
12 soldiers.
Yeah.
And so what kind of things did you do for those soldiers? Is there anything in particular that you remember that you enjoyed or didn't like?
Let's take a quick break.
Veterans Archives is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we rely on donations from our listeners. If you are enjoying these stories and would like to support our continued efforts, please go to www.veteransarchives.org and select the donate button. Thank you.
Not really. I mean, I enjoy being in charge of soldiers. I like leading them. I like, I just don't like being responsible for them when they screw up. And they do often. Yeah. Because you have to stand and answer for it at some point, somehow. Why did your soldier do this? I don't know. Because he's an idiot. I don't know what to tell you.
That's the best answer. Yeah, because I told him to do it.
Yeah.
So you have 12 soldiers, and at some point, are you promoted, or do you stay E5 there?
No, I stayed E5 there. I was there 2 years, and then I volunteered for recruiting duty.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd gotten divorced, and then reconnected with my now wife, Jennifer, and
Jennifer, you reconnected. So where did you know her from? From high school? Okay.
Yeah, we graduated together. Yeah. It's actually it's a funny story. She hates when I say it, but I asked her out in 10th grade and she turned me down.
What was her reason, or did she give you one?
And she told me she was interested in another guy at the time, and then now she denies it. But anyway, it is what it is. So, but we reconnected, and then, started dating, eventually got married, and then, she was living here in Michigan. I was living in Georgia. So I volunteered for recruiting duty. And when you do that, you get to pick like your choice of duty station, more or less. So I picked Michigan.
And that was your first choice?
Yeah. To come back here. So
did you get to pick like where at in Michigan? I know Michigan's a big state.
No, you didn't get to pick where at. You just kind of got to pick a region. So you pick Michigan, and then let's say, like, do you want like the upper Michigan, lower Michigan? And so I chose lower Michigan.
Okay, so you volunteer for recruiting duty. You pick Michigan, and then what year is it that you come back to Michigan?
2011.
2011.
Yeah.
And when you come back, are you going to live with mom or dad, or are you going to?
No, we had gotten our own place. I was recruiting in Saginaw, and all of our life was like kind of down here. So we chose a place that was kind of in between my work and here. So we picked Burton. It's right by Grand Blanc. So we picked up there. So we lived there for a year, and then I got transferred from Saginaw to Mount Clemens. For like hardship or whatever, so I didn't have to drive that far. So when I transferred to Mount Clemens, we left Burton and then went and lived in her mom's house, who left the state to go live with her husband in Iowa. So we were basically like living in her mom's house, taking care of it while she was gone.
In Mount Clemens?
Yeah.
And what year was it that you moved to Mount Clemens?
2012.
Okay.
Late 2012.
2012.
September 2012.
Okay. And are you guys just dating, or are you married?
No, we're married.
Okay, so what year did you get married?
2010.
2010?
Yeah.
You remember the date?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the date?
October 28th.
Okay. I remember my wedding date, so.
October 28th.
So October 28th, 2010, and you're married. You come back down 2012 to Mount Clemens. And what are your Sergeant E5 still at this point?
Yep.
Okay, so then what is your area that you recruit out of or for?
Mount Clemens, Harrison Township, just Clinton Township, Roseville, just kind of that area.
So you get Roseville, which is where you went to high school.
Yes.
So that was pretty beneficial, I'd imagine.
Yep. So, I recruited out of Roseville. I think I got a couple out of Roseville that year. It was pretty good.
Yeah. So did you walk back in? The teacher's like, Nick.
Yeah,
come on in and do whatever you want to do.
So my old what was his name? Mr. Caro, I think. Mr. Caro? Clio, something like that. My old history teacher, he let me do presentations in his class all the time.
That's huge for a recruiter, right?
Yeah.
You can get tons of leads that way.
So
you got Roseville, and you did presentations. I know you and I have done presentations before, and you're amazing at your presentations. What else did you do as a recruiter other than presentations?
Lunchroom visits.
Okay.
Football games, basketball games. We would honor students if they were doing well, with like awards and stuff. Bring the faculty breakfast, donuts, coffee, that sort of thing. So
just out in the communities and the schools.
Gym setups. take over the gym and do a workout with the kids all day.
Yeah, those are always huge too.
Yeah.
So you're doing that, and from what you did, you're still active Army at this point.
Yeah.
What you did in Hawaii, what you did in Iraq, Fort Gordon, do you like this better than being an MP? Depends on the.
I think you know the answer to that. I enjoy recruiting. I enjoy getting the message out there, trying to get people the same opportunities I've had. But I do miss like being out in the field. I miss having soldiers, because in recruiting you don't have soldiers in my position. I miss being out on the road to patrol. I always told myself if I got the chance to deploy again, I would. I'd take an heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what I, signed up for, to do that. So.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, man. You come and you sit in an office all the time and you feel like you're not
Productive.
Yeah, productive, and like you've ingrained in your mind that the harder I work, the more I've done.
Just kind of wasting away. I mean, it's nice to get people in here and, give them opportunities that I've had, but at the same time, I'm trying to still take care of myself and my career and do what I want to do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So you're in recruiting. You're doing the recruiting gig. You're in schools, talking to people, talking to kids, getting them interested in the Army. At what point do you have kids at this point?
Yeah. So you talk about 2012.
2012.
Yeah. So I have a stepson, and it depends on what month in 2012. I had both my daughters by October 2012. So one was born August 2011. The other one was born October 2012. So
what are their names?
So my stepson, he's Leland. He's now 15. My first daughter is Nicole. She is now going to be 12 in August. And Sophia, the youngest, is going to be 11 in October.
It's crazy how time flies when you have kids, right?
I know. When they were younger, I always said I wanted them to grow up. And then now that they're grown up, not grown, but a little bit more grown up now, I want them to be smaller again because they didn't talk back so much.
Yeah. They didn't know everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my 12-year-old, she knows everything.
Oh,
I don't know if you know that, but yeah. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah, well, I have a 9-year-old boy who already knows everything, but
she is smart, like book smart, school smart. She is very smart,
and she did like dance, right?
She still does.
Still does.
She's
dance.
going into her 10th year this year.
Right down the.
Yeah, right next door. Got to dance. Yeah.
Okay.
She's going into her 10th year.
It's a long time.
It is. Yeah.
So do you like travel a lot for the dance, or?
So, actually, she just got into competitive dancing, like the most senior type competitive dancing you can get into. Last year, we went to Tennessee for a dance competition.
Wow,
but that was the first time we traveled for it. Otherwise, it's just like local high schools for recitals and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 2012, you're in recruiting duty. How long are you in recruiting duty?
I did it from 2011 until 2014.
Okay. So then after recruiting duty, you have 3 kids, you're married, and what happens after recruiting duty?
So my recruiting duty was coming to an end, and I had a couple choices or a couple options. Only one choice. So I could either re-enlist, because my contract was coming up to an end. Not just recruiting, but my whole contract. Mm-hmm. Could re-enlist and go to Korea. Or I can get out. Now, at this point, I had been in 9 years. Almost 10. There wasn't getting out for me. Mm-hmm. So I had to do something, right? I had heard about the AGR program with the Air Guard and the Army Guard. I'd heard about it.
Through recruiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, through other recruiters, So I figured that was a good way to stay in Michigan and continue my active duty career.
It is a very good way.
I don't know why, but I looked at the Air Guard first. And I talked to the Air Guard recruiter. And of course, they're going to tell you anything that you want to hear, right? So I asked about the AGR program, and he's like, yeah, AGR program is definitely a thing. I was like, I can, I'm coming from recruiting. I can just do recruiting, with you guys. You know what I mean? He's like, yeah, it's definitely a thing you can do. I was like, okay, let's do that then. So he wrote up my contract. Now, it was a field enlistment. I didn't have to go to MEPS because I was still in at this point. I was going to get out of active duty one day, get out of the Army one day, and then join the Air Guard the next day. So I didn't have a break in service. So I went to the recruiting station to sign my contract. And the officer that was swearing me in, he's like, okay, let's go over your contract. So you're going to be, security forces on Selfridge, 1 weekend a month. Here's your contract, blah, blah. I was like, wait a minute, hang on. What do you mean 1 weekend a month? I was like, I'm signing for AGR. He goes, no, you're not. You're signing for 1 weekend a month. That's how you start off. I was like, I was unaware of that. So at this point, it's too late. I can't have a break in my service, so I had to sign the contract. That was December 23rd, 2014, right before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent 6 months in the Air Guard on Selfridge, 1 weekend a month, doing nothing. I didn't even get a uniform. I did nothing for 6 months. So for work, I worked with my cousin, who is he had his own business, his own flooring business. I worked with him, and he taught me like the flooring business. After that 6 months was up, I was fed up. I came and talked to a Army Guard recruiter, Sergeant
Eric
Thibodeau.
Yep.
And he said the same thing. Yeah, AGR is possible. Yeah, you can do that. I was like, look, I just heard this from the Air Guard recruiter. I was like, so don't tell me something I just want to hear just so you can get me in. I was like, is it actually possible? He's like, yeah. So he did my contract. And at the same time he did my contract, he put in ADOS paperwork for me for recruiting. It's like temporary active duty orders.
Yeah.
And so I joined with him. I switched over from the Air Guard to the Army Guard. And 2 weeks later, I was ADOS in Garden City.
Yep, I remember that.
Yep. I was working with Sergeant Frederick and Sergeant Cox in Garden City.
So what did you think, how much of a change was it from, it's obviously a huge change from the Air Guard.
Yeah.
As far as recruiting goes, how much of a change was it from?
It wasn't
active
too much
Army?
of a change, just, your pitch changes a little bit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You go from, hey, you're going to sign on the dotted line. You're going to go to training. After training, you're going to go to an awesome active duty post, and you're going to, do all this cool things, and you're going to, you lay it out for them, all the things that they're going to do. You go from that active duty recruiting to, hey, you're going to go to training. After training, you're going to come back here, and you're going to go to college, and we're going to pay for it, and you're going to live life normally how you do. Now it's just, you're going to drill with us 1 weekend a month.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just your pitch changes, but essentially recruiting is all the same.
So I would say one of the big things might have been, you still talk to Eric Thibodeau today, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think one of the big things from active Army to Guard is that it's more hometown. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So you still your recruiter,
but yeah,
you
you
still
can,
talk to him.
Yeah. So you can still see the people that you put in. They can come to your office, they can hang out with you. They can come to work with you for a few hours and, help you out on recruiting duty. You know what I mean? So it's more personable.
Yep.
Active duty recruiting, you get them in, you ship them out, you don't see them again.
Yep. And that, I know that's one of the things that National Guard kind of taught. I know I talked about that when I was a recruiter. It's you really get to see them succeed, like once you recruit them.
Yeah, because I mean, if you go to, you can go to any of these units and you can. I went to a meeting in Pontiac one time, just a platoon meeting, and I saw somebody that I put in a few years ago, and I just, hey man, how you doing? How's life? How's the career? He's loving it. So, you get to see him again, unexpected places, but you get to see him.
Yep. I know what you mean. So you're on ADOS, and then how long are you on ADOS before you're hired AGR?
I was on ADOS just a few months. There was an opening that opened up, and I put in my packet.
And that was for
recruiting.
No, what location?
Pontiac.
Okay. Under Sergeant Montague. Harold Montague.
Yep.
So you start out. You're in Pontiac.
Yep.
Who are your office partners in Pontiac?
So I got Vetter, Wheeler, Wank.
And wasn't Sergeant Bush there too?
Yeah, Bush was there.
Yeah.
He was. Yeah, him. So Wheeler, Vetter, and Bush were in the same office together, and then me and Wank got like this little storage closet thing.
What schools did you have?
That's a good question. I don't remember what schools I had when I was in Pontiac.
Just Detroit area schools?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember what they were called. I don't remember what schools they are.
Okay. Well, I know it's probably Detroit area, somewhere in that.
Detroit, Pontiac area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have quite a few office partners. You're brand new, but you're not really brand new. And you had, do you still talk to anybody from there?
Yeah. Yeah. I actually just called Bush this morning. So, seen Vetter at MEPS a couple weeks ago. I see Wheeler 1 weekend a month at drill at RSP. So, Wank I haven't talked to in a while, but I saw him a couple months ago.
Yeah, I talk to him every now and then. We can talk offline about that, but he's doing well from when I talked to him.
Yeah.
So you're in Pontiac for what year is this?
2015 to 2016, I think, late 16.
And then from 2016, you moved to what location?
Sterling Heights.
Sterling Heights, where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And who were your office partners then?
It was Eric Thibodeau. It was, what was his name? Fortier. And it was Brooks.
Yeah. Such an awesome guy. So you're in Sterling Heights, and you're with probably one of the best recruiters I've ever heard of, Sergeant Brooks. I'm just kidding. And you're here for how long?
Until January of 2018.
Okay. And you're what were your schools when you were here? Or areas?
I believe I had Roseville again. I was a little bit more south. So I had Roseville, I think like Chippewa, possibly. I had Clintondale, Fraser.
Warren.
Yeah. I had the schools that were a little bit south of Sterling Heights. I think Detroit has those now, or Warren has those now, because they have a storefront in Warren now.
Yep. And so you're here till you have schools south of southern Macomb County.
Yep.
And from there, what happens after?
Long story. So my recruiting contract was up in May of 2018 because you had a 3-year contract. In January of 2018, my commander and first sergeant sat down with me, and at the 3-year mark, they determine whether they're going to continue your contract or not. And they sat down with me and provided me with a counseling statement that said they were not going to continue my AGR contract. They were going to let me go. So they didn't even let me make it to May. They just released me in January. They worded it like poor performance, but it's numbers. It's a numbers game. Mm-hmm. So in January, I went to go work at MEPS as an assistant GC guidance counselor until May when my contract was up. So I was at MEPS working with them, and Sergeant Anderson was the NCOIC at MEPS at that point for the GCs, and we didn't really get along. And it was April, and him and I got into an argument about something. I can't remember what it was, but we got into an argument about something, and he kicked me out of MEPS, told me not to come back. So I didn't. So for the last 30 days of that contract, I didn't do anything. I went home. I stayed home.
In my experience with Steven Anderson, if you're not stroking his ego, then you're not.
I wasn't about to play their games. To me, back then, it was all about, if you're a part of the clique, the good old boy program. I wasn't about to play that game. Maybe I should have for the sake of my family, but it's just, I guess it's my pride talking. So I was let go in May.
Okay, so you're let go in May.
Yeah. For
obviously the, wrong reasons. And what do you do when you are let go in May?
All right, you ready for it?
Yep.
So I searched around all different places for jobs. I even took the MCOLs.
Okay.
To be a
Back
police
to
officer.
what you originally wanted to do.
Yep, I took the MCOLs written test. I passed that, but they couldn't get me in the academy till like the next year, for some reason. So I was like, I need to find something in the meantime. So I went online, kept searching for jobs. The first thing I found, I did for about 2 weeks, and then I stopped. So if you go into like a Best Buy or a Target or a Walmart, and you see those like AT&T people standing by the electronics section that are trying to sell you internet and cable and stuff, I did that, and they purely work off a commission, and I did that for 2 weeks, and then I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I can't be that guy. I avoid that guy in the store now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I can't be that guy.
Everybody does.
So. And I did that for about 2 weeks, and I was like, I'm done. I can't do this shit no more. So I went online, and I looked again, and I found Quicken Loans. And they run through hundreds of people all the time. People are, and I realized
Turnover
why.
rate's really high.
I realized why once I started. So you had to go through training. Training was like 7 to 7 every day. It was nuts. Hardly saw my family, but I had to make money. So, you know what I mean? So went through the training program. And then after the training program, while you're waiting for your mortgage licensing to be approved, you have to work in like the call center. And you work crazy hours there too.
And you're also doing the 1 week in a month, right?
Yeah, I'm still doing 1 week in a month with the guard.
And where's that at?
Where was I doing my 1 week in a month?
Taylor?
Yes, I was in Taylor. Yeah. Yeah, it was in Taylor. The 76th in Taylor. And then, so I'm working there, waiting for my licensing to get approved. Finally gets approved, and I start banking. You make an hourly wage, but it's not a good hourly wage. It's mostly off of loans that you sell. So it was good that I learned about the business for when I bought my house, but it just wasn't for me. I know eventually I'm going to retire. get a civilian job, and have to deal with it at some point. But not putting on the uniform every day, it hurt. It hurt a lot.
It's a huge transition.
It hurt a lot, especially when I knew I just wanted to retire and I wasn't done. Like, after I retire, I know I'm done. You know what I mean? Like, I can hang up the uniform and I know that I've accomplished it. I'm done. When I was doing that, I felt like I just hadn't finished. I wasn't through yet. So
you're doing that, and you miss being in the uniform.
yeah. So I'm basically taking any type of orders I can.
Yeah.
Any type of full-time orders I can. And that's when I got on orders to go to Cuba. Guantanamo Bay, Gitmo.
What year did you leave for Cuba?
2019.
2019?
Yep.
Okay. And you're still married? You still have 3 kids at this point? Okay. And when you go to Cuba, where do you guys stay at in Cuba?
I mean, I wouldn't say they're trailers. They're just like little makeshift. I wouldn't say houses either. They're just, 4 walls and a door.
Uh-huh. On a concrete slab.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. And then you had to rig up anything you could for privacy because there's just one open area, right? So you had to rig up anything you could for privacy. So we put up like shower curtains and put up shower curtain rods and around our own little area, so you could have a little bit of privacy. I bought a bed tent, so it's a tent that you put on the frame of a bed, and then you put the mattress inside of the tent, and you can zip it up. And I just had my own little tent that I slept in.
It's a good way to do it.
So
you're in Cuba with no privacy.
Yep.
And what are you doing in Cuba?
Prison guard. We were like correctional officers for the Gitmo prisoners.
So detainee operations.
Yeah.
So are you doing like cell extractions, black sergeant?
So we kind of mixed around jobs a little bit.
Rotated.
So like 1 month we were internal security. 1 month we were external security at the gate. Another month we were like escorts for anybody that had to go to like medical or if anybody had to go to court, anything like that. So we just kind of rotated. But it was really cool because I got to see. So the 9/11-5 are there. I don't know if you know who they are. You know who 9/11-5 are?
So I went there. I was there in 2003 to 2004. So they were probably there when I was there.
Maybe, I don't know. So the 9/11-5 are the 5 remaining people that were responsible for coordinating 9/11. And there were a bunch of us that were picked to go, and we got to see their like preliminary court hearing, and that was pretty cool. And then a bunch of us were picked to go work with the FBI one evening to so all the evidence that was being used against them that was in storage, that was in the United States, they flew to Guantanamo Bay, and they needed a detail to take all that evidence and package it up and put it in evidence storage lockers at
highly
Gitmo.
Secured detail,
Yeah.
I imagine.
Yeah. And we
Makes sense.
worked with the FBI. We did it at night.
Uh-huh.
So we worked with the FBI doing that. It was only a handful of us. And I actually got cut on my leg by one of the last remaining pieces of the plane.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Did it leave a scar?
it did.
So you get to brag about it and say that.
Yeah.
That's from one of the 9/11.
Yeah. And then the FBI gave us a coin.
I don't know if bragging about it's the right terminology, but
I can at least say I did that.
yeah,
That's something I can say I'm proud that I
Yep.
did.
I would be too.
Not a lot of people can say that.
Yeah. That's a crazy story. I never knew that about you. So you're there from 2019 to
2020.
2020.
Yep. And we all know what happened in 2020.
Yeah. So, were you down there during when COVID happens, or
so we were there when everybody first started talking about COVID, and then it was right after we got back, a couple weeks after we got back, that everything shut down.
So you're like down there. You're not in prison, but
right,
you're working in a prison.
Yeah, we were actually almost not gonna be let to go home because of COVID. Like, it was that close.
Mm-hmm.
So we were the last ones to actually leave Cuba before COVID shut down everything.
Man, that'd be terrible, man. You're gone on deployment, and like all the small things that you miss, you're looking forward to come back to.
Yeah.
You know, it could be just going to McDonald's to get a McRib, or whatever.
I've never had a McRib. I don't.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't intend to either.
Okay,
it's
well,
weird.
They're amazing.
I don't.
McDonald's
sells ribs.
But whatever that small thing
the little
is
things
for you,
yeah.
You come back and they shut down the world.
So it's strange that the things that people take for granted. So like in our, I'm going to say hooches again. That's how I know how to describe them. In our hooches, we didn't have a bathroom inside. Like, we had to go outside to the actual bathroom, shower room to go to the bathroom. In Cuba, when you step outside, you start sweating. You just start sweating. There's no getting around it. So something that I was looking forward to was not having to just sweat my ass off just to go pee. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's the little things like that that people take for granted. You know, just walking to the bathroom, going to the bathroom, and then, doing your business, whatever, and being done with it. For us, we had to walk outside, sweat, go pee, walk back outside, sweat some more, go back inside.
Yeah.
So
I remember that. So back when I was there, we still pressed our uniform.
Oh, yeah.
So I know every bit about that.
Yeah.
So you're in Cuba, you get back home, and then what happens? Are you going back to work anywhere?
Yeah. I was going back to Quicken Loans. My orders were done, so I had to go back to Quicken Loans. So
you're at Quicken Loans, and then what happens?
So I'm at Quicken Loans, and then I came down for promotion. Well, actually, so I was working. I took an ADOS position at MEPS, Lansing MEPS.
Uh-huh.
So I was working ADOS with them when I got back. Like I said, I tried to take any orders I could.
Get those retirement points.
Yeah. So I took orders at Lansing MEPS. I was there for a while, like checking temperatures at the door for COVID and stuff. People coming in, it was all right. And then I got promoted to E7 while I was there. And then I was offered a position as the PMO NCOIC in Grayling for M-Day.
What's PMO?
The Provost Marshal's office.
Okay.
So we're like the MPs. It's like the MP station.
And is that for full-time?
No, it was for part-time.
Part-time
for M-Day. So my orders were up with Lansing MEPS. Went back to Quicken Loans. And then 1 week in a month, I was driving 3 hours to Grayling for drill. So that was fun.
In the snow?
Yeah, snow, whatever. Yeah. Yeah, the snow and ice made it a longer trip. One time I was on the... it was bad. It was early in the morning. I left, to get there by 7 o'clock. And I had to go to the bathroom really bad. And there was nobody else on the road, and I just stopped on the side of the road. There was no bathroom in sight, so I stopped on the side of the road and went to the bathroom.
Number 1 or 2?
2.
Oh, good for you.
I didn't have any toilet paper or anything, though, so I used a mask. It was COVID. I used a mask.
Yeah. Got to use what you have, right? Got to improvise.
So I did that for a while, and then I got put on orders I got put on COVID orders to like go around and like help set up COVID testing sites and stuff around the country. I didn't actually leave or go anywhere. I was more or less operations at that point. But right when I got put on orders for that, they were like disbanding that unit. They didn't have a need for them anymore. So I was doing it for like 2 weeks, and then we had to go demob in Texas, and that took another couple weeks. So
Points.
I was on those orders for like a month, maybe, and then after that, I went back to Quicken Loans.
Okay, so then from Quicken Loans, you get hired back into recruiting.
Yeah. So the whole time I was with Quicken Loans, I was applying for jobs, any type of job I could. Admin, recruiting, training,
So
supply.
full-time jobs with the Guard.
AGR jobs. Yeah. 22. I went through 22 boards.
It's a lot.
Never got hired. Until I did get hired. I went through my final board. It was recruiting, and it was with Command Sergeant Major Freeze. And he decided to, because, out of everybody on the board, I've been through recruiting before, I aced the board flying colors to beat everybody out. And he's like, how can we not hire the top person on the board, Yeah. But everybody in the room knew my past, but he decided to take a chance on me. So I got hired back with recruiting in April of last year, 2022. So I've been doing it a little more than a year now.
And you were hired for Sterling Heights.
Correct.
Okay, so as we sit right now, you've been here about a year.
Yep.
And you are how far away from retirement?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, well, two and change. I'll be able to drop my letter in December.
So December. So you're ready to cut sling load, get out, and start a new life, or
Yeah. I think I'm ready to hang up the uniform.
Okay. Well, I mean, you've had a long service, a good service. You made an impact. What's the main reason why you want to get out or want to retire?
Throughout my whole career, it seems like maybe it's just the recruiting aspect of it, but it seems like things have gotten a lot more political inside the Army. And I want to be done with all that. I just want to move away from that. I just want to be able to do my job without somebody hounding me about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know it's always going to be there, probably regardless of what type of job you have, but it just seems like with recruiting, it's all or nothing. You know what I mean? You either make your number and you're top dog, or you don't make your number and you're looked at as, a piece of shit while you're here. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be looked at like that if I can't make my number, and it's not like I can just go out there and be like, oh, hey, you're going to join. Come on.
Yeah, no.
It's not that easy.
It's not easy.
And the people that are telling us to go out there and recruit are, I know that, most of them were prior recruiters themselves and they know the struggle. But when you get to the level of where they're at, you forget what it's like to be a street recruiter. You forget the day-to-day, ins and outs of, what we go through. So I think because they lose sight of that, they lose sight of how we're feeling on a day-to-day, our stress levels, go home and, I try to leave this here, but for some reason, I can't stop looking at my phone or checking my email or, something, so I don't want to feel like that, so I think it's, 20 years, I'm going to hang up the uniform and move on to something else.
Yeah. Well, good for you, man. I can tell you from my own experience that the things that you stress about now won't be a stress when you retire.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it'll have its own stress on certain things.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, I'm sure it will, but it'll be a different stress than it is now.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking about being a Detroit police officer after this.
Well, you know, you
Don't give me that look.
The good thing is you can try it, and if you don't like it, you can just go do something else.
Yeah.
And you have money coming in, and it's not.
Yeah. You know, I have time to think about what I want to do, where I want to go. You know.
Yeah.
I got buddies that, you know, either retired or got out, and they got different jobs here and there and doing things. I got a buddy that's doing really well. You know, might hit him up, see if he has anything for me. So.
Yep. You got my number. So out of everything we talked about, is there anything for anybody who's listening that you would want them to take away from this conversation?
Yeah. So I've been thinking about this for a few days, and a lot of people these days, they want to take the easy road, right?
Yep.
They want to make money the easy way. You know, I want to be a YouTube star, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like people these days really want to work for what they have. They just want things to come to them. And so what I would like to say is do what is hard. Your reward is self-worth. That would be my message.
It's a good message.
If you do what's easy, you know, things might come to you, but you're not going to feel good about them. You're not going to feel like you earned them. If you do what is hard, then you're going to respect what you have much more.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Veterans Archives, the podcast that brings you the story of the men and women who have created and lived our military history. If you or someone you know served in the military and would like to share your story with Veterans Archives, please go to www.veteransarchives.org, select the Apply Now button, and fill out our application, and someone will get right back with you. Veterans Archives is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we rely on the donations of our listeners. If you are enjoying these stories and you support our efforts, please go to www.veteransarchives.org and select the Donate button. Any donation is certainly appreciated. Look for Veterans Archives on your favorite social media. We are on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Just look for Veterans Archives. Like, follow, and share our page. We'd certainly appreciate it. If you or someone you know is a veteran and you are struggling with mental health issues, please dial 988 and select option 1 for the Veterans Crisis Hotline. Please be sure to tune in next time for the next episode of Veterans Archives.